Well, good afternoon, everybody. Just wanted to provide a brief update to Queenslanders and thank them for the way that they have been communicating with each other. And I want to stress the importance of making sure that we get these messages across to every Queenslander in the impacted zone. Today I've spent the afternoon on the Gold Coast, and I want to thank the Acting Mayor for her time and taking me through your centre here, and thanks for the work you're doing for your community. I also went to Paradise Point and saw the work that many of the businesses are doing there in preparing for the potential for storm surge, and the message is clear. And that is to do the preparation now, and I want to thank those businesses that are heeding the warnings, and we're asking residents to do the same. And I'll get onto that in a moment. We have emergency management teams who are doing all they can to speak directly to impacted residents, but I'm asking people to absorb the warnings from all manner of sources, including the disaster.qld.gov.au website, and on there is the dashboard that will take you to your council where you can see those storm surge mapping. The cyclone has continued to head towards the coast as the modelling has predicted, and a tropical cyclone will cross the coast somewhere in the late hours of Thursday into the early morning of Friday. It is really important that people in the area between Double Island Point all the way to the Gold Coast, which is the impact zone, prepares for that crossing and knows the risk that is there. I want to stress why it is so important to do the preparations now. There is the prospect that this cyclone could cross the coast in the middle of the night with a high tide, and that is not the time to be making your evacuation plan. Now is that time, and if you do so, I have every faith that Queenslanders will be kept safe. Storm tide flood mapping has now been released by those councils on the area, and I'm urging people to go and have a look at those websites. Again, disaster.qld.gov.au. There is also door knocking that's been undertaken. I want to thank the councils who have led that, but we've also put a number of resources to help them, including police and fire and emergency services recruits. What a wonderful opportunity for them to serve their community before they are even sworn into their profession. And we're really, really grateful for the work they're doing, as we are for the SES and all of our other volunteers. It's critical that people make themselves aware of those storm tide flood mapping, and if you are in that storm flood zone, make your emergency evacuation plan. Stay up to date with those mapping as Council continues to update it, and know the importance of the things that you can do now. Emergency alerts have been issued, and people on Moreton Island, on the Gold Coast, Redlands and in parts of Brisbane as well have received those just today. Great opportunity to know one other way of connecting with people, but it is vital that text messages won't be the only source. Go to those trusted websites, talk to your friends and family, and do those preparations. Large-scale door knocking operations are underway, and I want to thank the way that people have particularly assisted vulnerable Queenslanders, people, those in nursing homes, in aged care. We've pre-deployed health services into many of those areas, as well as power generation. We continue to work and offer those people who are sleeping rough the opportunity to also get out of harm's way, and we continue to move people out of those zones. Flood warning remains in place from the Mary River all the way to the border, and we will expect to have minor to major flooding in the days ahead. I've spoken a lot about the three phases. The first was that coastal erosion, which we saw over a large part of the Queensland coast. We are now moving into the second phase, and that is those damaging and destructive winds. They will come as that cyclone crosses the coast, and it is important that people make their preparations. Now, I want to address this. There is those people who are in those storm tide zones. You will make an informed decision based on the information that you've got. Our preference is for you to go and stay with friends and family. That is always the best option. If you have the means and you can go to a motel, if that's not an option, the evacuation centres are available as a last resort, of course. We want people to be safe. but our preference is always to be with friends and family. For those who are in areas where you know there's river flooding, do your normal procedures. Make sure that you're well aware of your evacuation plan in the same way that you normally do for those heavy rainfall events. To the other residents, the vast majority of Queenslanders in this area, this large populated area in the southeast, the safest place for you is at home and with your family. And if you do the precautions now, your home is the safest place. Take the opportunity to clear your yard of loose items. Take the opportunity to remove any trees that might be hanging over your roof. Get your valuables into one location. Have bottled water and tin food. Those windows are closing to do that, and it's really important that you do. And if you do, I have every confidence that you will be safe and you will be kept in one piece. I have every confidence of that. We then move into the third phase, which is that flooding rain, and the Bureau has continued to update modelling to show that there is the very likely prospect of heavy rainfall in the days ahead. Those evacuation centres, I want to thank the local governments for the way they have mobilised them, including here on the coast, Acting Mayor. I know at Runaway Bay the centre has already opened, and you've got another two, I think, at Burleigh and Nerang that you're ready to open by 5 o'clock today. But councils are doing that across the board. Again, they are there as a last resort, but they are there, and we need you to be aware of that. If you want further information, there is that Get Ready website if you want to know those little tips around the house. But right now, that disaster.qld, that's really where we want people to go to, because you will continue to get those up to date, including the modelling as it comes to hand. I've just been informed that the Gold Coast Airport will be closing in about an hour's time at 4 o'clock today. No doubt the Brisbane Airport will continue to liaise with its airlines, and that is a decision for them. And we're urging those passengers to take the advice directly from your airline. We have pre-deployed vessels on the Broadwater, and we've done that to make sure that if there is the situation of the need for things like swift water rescue, that we have the capacity there. But the best time to leave your home is not in the middle of the night on a high tide with a cyclone crossing the coast. If you are in a vulnerable area and you've got the opportunity to go and stay with friends and family, it's a decision you should take. Door knocking will continue. Just an update on health and schools. Queensland Health have continued to operate today as we said they would, and schools were operational today as we said they would. From tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, those elective procedures won't take place, but our emergency departments are available. And I want to thank the staff who come in and serve others at a difficult time, and that's why we're so grateful for people who work in the health system. Likewise with the schools, we thank the way that the schools have worked with us. There will be no school on tomorrow or Friday, and we'll update people into the future. Public transport, buses and trains will cease operating from the last service today, and they won't be open on they won't be operational on Thursday and Friday as well. And I mentioned earlier that red alert, a maritime red alert has been issued, which means no vessels are permitted from now without the express approval of the Harbour Master. Today I can announce that disaster activation has been triggered for those councils in this area, and I'm really, really glad that the Federal Minister has joined me, and she'll unpack what that means in a second. But the reason why this is important, I want Queenslanders to know that there will be no daylight between the response and the recovery. And the best way that you can guarantee a good recovery is to do the little things now to keep yourself out of harm's way, and that speeds up the recovery process. But we are already mobilising the councils to be able to go in and respond. I mentioned earlier today we've got 1,000 Energex crew. They are ready to serve, and we have contractors ready to help clean the debris. It is essential that we get power connected as quickly as we can after an event like this. The safest place for you during the event is at home, and when a cyclone crosses, very often power is the first thing that goes out, and there is the prospect of live lines, and people have to be really cautious with that. Right now, you need to know that those crews are ready to serve, and again, we thank them. Community recovery teams are prepared, they're ready to support people, hubs will be established. I do this because I want Queenslanders to know how seriously we're taking this, how much focus we're putting on this, and how keen we are to allow this proud state to be able to get back up after the event. But right now, everyone's got to play their role. We spent a lot of time and we've had a lot of focus across all levels of government, a number of agencies, getting ready for this. And we've said every day how seriously we're taking this, and we want you to do the same. And I know that there's a large element of the population who have done that work already. Please, if you believe that your neighbour hasn't, it's just a great opportunity just to reach out and say g'day, because there will be an element of the population who may not have heard about it or may not quite be grasping the magnitude of this. It is a serious event. If you do the little things, you will get through it. I have every faith in Queenslanders to handle these events, every faith. History has shown that. There's not many states that are as disaster resilient as this one anywhere on the planet. I'm just asking to make sure people do the little things now. Finally, this is a very rare event. It's an extremely rare event. It's been half a century since a system of this size crossed this far south. But they do happen, and you can get through them if you do the preparation now. And really grateful for the work of everyone in the way they've come together, including federal government. And I'm grateful for your time, Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Premier, and thanks everybody for coming. As the Premier's indicated, it's now clear that this cyclone is heading west. It's heading towards the coast, and we can expect it to cross the coast. And as the Premier has said, this is not unprecedented, but it is unusual. We know that the Queensland Government is well positioned to lead on this response. We're also working with the New South Wales Government, and Premier Crisafulli and Premier Minns are regularly in contact with our government. You will have seen that the Prime Minister was here earlier today. They lead, but we want to be good partners to our state governments through an event of this kind, good partners to Queenslanders, good partners to the people of Northern New South Wales. And so today we've taken a series of steps to support communities. We've been able to provide significant volumes of sandbags through Defence and through the National Emergency Management Agency. We're pre-positioning heavy lift helicopters so that they are in place in this region, ready to be deployed if they are required. We, of course, are engaging closely through the National Situation Room with both governments to make sure that we have the best possible analysis and information about what is to come, and we're supporting crisis planning and readiness. And today we convened a large meeting with the private sector of all of those entities who play a role through a crisis and into a recovery, making sure that entities in transport, logistics, telecommunications, energy are briefed, do understand what's coming, and are able to share with the Australian Government the readiness steps that they are taking to make sure that their services are going to be able to continue through this event. We are activating today disaster assistance to support councils. There's a power of work going on out there. It's going on through the emergency management workers, through police, through essential service workers, and also, of course, through councils. And right across this state and into northern New South Wales, council officers are playing a really important role in preparing communities for the event that is to come. Disaster assistance is really significant. Providing councils the assurance that they will receive financial support for the counter-disaster operations that they undertake as they ready their communities for this event. We also want councils to be confident that as they move quickly to repair essential public infrastructure, they will receive financial support for those repairs. And so the announcement today, a joint announcement between the Albanese Government and the Crisafulli Government, switches on that support for a series of councils, and I'll step through them. It is for the local government areas of Brisbane, Fraser Coast, Gold Coast, Gympie, Ipswich, Logan, Moreton Bay, Noosa, Redland, Scenic Rim, Somerset and Sunshine Coast. And I want to say this. We are moving quickly to do this. I'm really grateful to Minister Lay, with whom I work very closely and very regularly. Unfortunately, we've had many occasions to speak with one another over this high-risk weather season, but it is a pleasure to work with her and her team. We've worked closely to put these arrangements in place quickly so that councils can have confidence in taking the steps that they require. It is a precursor of what's to come. We're determined to work hand in glove with the government here to make sure that Queenslanders have the support that they require. That's true in northern New South Wales as well. As the Premier said, it matters how quickly and smoothly we are able to move into recovery. Right now, the focus is on protecting life. But there will come a time in the very near future when we have to turn our minds to recovery, and we want to make sure we're ready. My final message is to all the people out there who are taking all of the steps that are necessary to look after themselves, their families and their neighbourhoods. I know that people are going out there getting the information they need about the risk they're exposed to. I know people are working to prepare their homes, to prepare an evacuation plan or to ready themselves for the weather that is to come. And I know that people are heeding the warnings that are provided to them by emergency services. To all of you, I say thank you. We can get through this together, and you should understand that all levels of government, local government, state government, federal government, are working together in the community interest and to keep people safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Minister McAllister. Thank you. Over to you guys.
So what does the disaster kind of funds look like for councils? Is it grants? How does it work?
It enables councils to get in and do the work rather than squabbling over those loose change. And it's a process we've put in place, having seen in years gone by a more cumbersome approach, and it's on the back of having a good relationship and a trusting relationship with local government. So it enables them to get in, do the work, and then they can claim that back. And rather than go through that process, they know that that money's there. And in many cases, it's the difference between a road being repaired immediately or not. And so I want residents to know that we do that because we understand psychologically how important recovery is. And it's also important before an event to know that it's not going to be a process where you're left on your own. Right now, there's a whole heap of people in North and Far North Queensland who've just been through a really big flooding event. We've got people on the ground there right now, working with those councils. And we've got people impacted from one end of the state to the other. And every Queenslander matters, and every Queenslander is going to be serviced. And right now, there's a big challenge in the southeast of the state, the likes of which we haven't seen for a long, long time. But I've got every faith in those Queenslanders, and I've got every faith in the processes we're putting in place. And all we're asking is for residents to do that little bit of work now in the remaining window, and we'll get through it.
We're hearing from employees, they're getting mixed messages from their employers as to
Yep.
whether they should go into the office or not. What's
Yep.
your advice there?
Well, throughout this, we've given the information and we've allowed people to make an informed decision. So I can tell you what we've done. Today, we said that it was fine for people to go to school and go for their regular health appointments, and public servants went to work. From tomorrow, we've put in place a system that people don't have to go into school and into the health system or into the office. That's what we're doing. We've given the advice to people, and I have every faith that people will make the right decision.
With the large number of police arriving today, what will be happening with them?
Westo, it's important that we have that sign of how seriously we're taking it, and in many cases those police will be going door to door. They will also be there to make sure that the logistics that are needed are on the ground. And by the Commissioner, the Acting Commissioner, putting in place that declaration, that gives them a level of authority that they're able to truly lean in and help get results. And I make the point to all Queenslanders, if someone turns up at your door and is giving you the information, they're not there because it's something as an afterthought. They're there because it's important and you're important. And increasingly, I do believe that when events like this happen, that people realise truly what's important in life. You are what's important in life. And of course you should do all of the preparation to protect your property. Of course you should. That is the most important thing. But humans are worth more than any other material possession.
Which areas are they doing off in?
right across the board. All of those local government areas have mapped those storm surge, and they are going door to door. Now, I say to people, getting a knock on the door is just one thing you should be absorbing. You could get a text message. You'll also have those maps that are on disaster.qld.gov.au, and you can have a look and make an informed decision. Now, if you aren't in one of those zones, either a flood or a storm surge, best place for you is at home, and you've got to prepare your house. And by tomorrow afternoon, preparing your house will be very difficult. That window is now, so get in and do the little things.
Can I ask you about boaties, because you've got a lot in your electorate? What's the best advice if you live on a boat?
Well, we've had state government officers actually go and speak to those people on vessels, including some who are in vessels that aren't of the most seaworthy nature, which you and I have spoken about over the years. And we've advised them that there is a safer place for them than being on their vessel, and that message will continue to be delivered. Now, again, we give people the information and they make an informed choice, and the information we're giving people at the moment is being on a boat is not where you should be. And I come back to everything that we've done from the start of the week. We give the information in a clear and concise way, and that gives people the ability to make an informed choice. And as the system moves closer, and to be clear, there hasn't been a model for the last few days that hasn't said that this will cross the coast and hasn't said that it will be a cyclone when it does. So it's happening. Exactly where will continue to tighten, exactly how strong and exactly when, they're the variables. But that window is closing. But the one thing that is not negotiable, the one thing that's been consistent for a long time, is that it is going across. So we'll provide the information, and it will be on a greater frequency as the event gets closer. When we know something, you'll know it. And we just ask people to make the right choices, and I've got every faith they will. All right, guys. Thanks very much.
Can I thank you?
Oh, please. Thanks.
Sorry, just before we close off today, I wanted to, on behalf of the City, express our very sincere thanks to the Premier and the Queensland Government and to Minister McAllister and the Commonwealth, because we are receiving unprecedented support here in the City of Gold Coast. It is likely to be the most affected area of the local governments along the coastline, and we greatly value the support that we've received to date. It's really been fantastic. So thank you, Premier. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Acting Mayor. Thanks very much. Thanks, Ross.